December 1944. In the frozen forests of Belgium, over 10,000 American paratroopers were completely surrounded. German tanks closed every road. Artillery never stopped. Supplies were running out. Wounded soldiers froze in the snow. And above it all, Adolf Hitler had issued a direct order. Bastogne must fall at any cost. If the city was captured, the entire Allied front in Europe could collapse. Inside the Allied headquarters, commanders were already preparing for disaster. Some believed the men in Bastogne were lost. Letters of condolence were being written. The situation was that hopeless. What happened next would change the course of the Battle of the Bulge and reveal why George Patton was unlike any commander in the war. By mid-December 1944, the Allied headquarters was drowning in bad news. Inside his command office, Dwight D. Eisenhower had barely slept for days. Stacks of battlefield reports covered his desk. Maps of Belgium and the Ardennes were filled with red enemy movements. Every hour brought another message from Bastogne. German tanks tightening the encirclement. Ammunition almost gone. Medical supplies running out. Wounded soldiers lying in freezing buildings without heat. Weather-grounded Allied aircraft. No food drops. No reinforcements. No evacuation. The 101st Airborne Division was completely cut off. 10,000 men slowly being crushed. Eisenhower read report after report in silence. Witnesses later said his face looked years older in those days. This was not just a battlefield crisis. It was the possible destruction of an entire division and the collapse of the Allied front in the Ardennes. Late in the evening, Dwight D. Eisenhower finally stood up from his desk. He called in his chief of staff, Walter Bedell Smith. Eisenhower's voice was low, controlled, but tense. "Walter, this can't hold much longer."
If Bastogne falls, we lose the Ardennes, the Western Front.
He paused, then gave the order.
Get George S. Patton here. Tomorrow morning. No delays.
Smith nodded. He understood exactly what this meant. Only one man was known for moving entire armies faster than anyone thought possible. The morning of December 19th, 1944, greeted Allied headquarters with freezing cold. Snow covered the ground outside the windows. The sky was heavy and gray, the same weather that was suffocating Bastogne and grounding Allied aircraft. Inside the main briefing hall, massive maps of the Ardennes covered the walls. Red German arrows sliced deep into Allied positions. Bastogne was circled, a tiny point on the map, yet the lives of 10,000 men hung on it. Generals stared in silence. Everyone understood one thing. Time was running out. The doors opened. George S. Patton stepped inside. His coat was dusty, as if he had just come from the front. His face was hard, his eyes calm, as if this crisis was nothing new to him. Dwight D. Eisenhower turned toward him. For several seconds, no one spoke. Only the faint crackle of radios in the next room. Eisenhower walked slowly to the map. He placed his finger on the encircled town, then looked directly at Patton.
George, how fast can you attack north and break through to Bastogne?
Patton didn't hesitate, didn't glance at the map. He answered immediately.
With 3 divisions.
The room seemed to lose its air. Several officers exchanged glances. Someone quietly exhaled. Movements like that normally took weeks, not days. Eisenhower turned back toward him. His voice hardened.
George, I'm not asking for optimism. I'm not asking what's theoretically possible. I'm asking what you can actually do.
Silence. 10,000 lives hung in the balance. Failure meant disaster. Patton stepped toward the map, ran his finger along the road networks, then spoke calmly.
I'm already prepared. 3 attack plans. Routes calculated. Units ready to pivot at a moment's notice.
The generals stared. He had been preparing for this battle before anyone ordered it. Patton continued.
On December 22nd, my 4th Armored Division will strike north toward Bastogne. This is not a promise, it's a fact.
Total silence filled the room. Eisenhower slowly nodded. Eisenhower locked eyes with him.
Very well, George. You have your mission. Relieve Bastogne. You have full operational freedom.
A pause. Then the weight fell.
But if you fail, if those airborne troops are lost, you will never command again.
Not relief from duty. The end of your career.
You could hear breathing in the room. Patton didn't blink.
Perfectly clear, sir. I will not fail.
The meeting ended. Generals slowly left the room. Maps remained spread across the table. Bastogne still circled in red. Dwight D. Eisenhower didn't move immediately. He stood there for a moment, staring at the Ardennes. The red arrows, the narrowing corridor, the frozen roads. Then he turned to his chief of staff, Walter Bedell Smith. The door closed. Only the two of them remained. For a few seconds, neither man spoke. Smith finally broke the silence.
What do you think?
Eisenhower didn't answer. He kept looking at the map, the weight of 10,000 lives pressing against the silence. Smith tried again.
Sir, I think it's impossible.
The room went still. No anger, no argument, just reality. Eisenhower slowly turned back to the map. Then he spoke, calmly.
That's exactly why I sent Patton.
A pause.
Impossible is what he does.
Later that evening, Smith recorded the conversation in his diary. He wrote that the burden of the decision was enormous. If Patton failed, Eisenhower would carry the blame for the loss of 10,000 men. But Eisenhower had made his choice. He had gambled everything on one man. While George S. Patton's Third Army began turning north, Bastogne was freezing. Inside the surrounded perimeter, the 101st Airborne Division held defensive lines around the town. German artillery struck day and night. Shells tore through forests, fields, streets. Medical stations overflowed. Bandages ran out. Morphine was almost gone. The temperature dropped below freezing. Wounded men lay on church floors and in schoolhouses without heat. Outside the town, German armor tightened the ring. Hitler had personally ordered Bastogne captured. No retreat, no delay. The road network through Bastogne was critical. If Germany took it, the entire Ardennes offensive would surge forward. Inside Allied headquarters, reports arrived every hour. Dwight D. Eisenhower read everyone. He barely spoke. Witnesses later said he hardly touched his food. Sleep came in fragments, minutes at a time. On December 22nd, German officers approached the American lines. They carried a surrender demand. The commander of the 101st, Anthony McAuliffe, read the ultimatum: surrender immediately, or be annihilated. McAuliffe looked at the paper, then replied with a single word: nuts. The Germans didn't understand. When they did, they were furious. Artillery fire intensified, but inside Bastogne, morale exploded. They would not surrender. On December 23rd, the weather finally broke. American Douglas C-47. Skytrain planes pushed through the clouds. Food, ammunition, medical supplies dropped into the surrounded town. It bought time, but not victory. By December 24th, Christmas Eve, Eisenhower quietly prepared for disaster. Draft letters covered his desk. condolences to families, including one addressed to McAuliffe's wife. He whispered to an aide, "I hope I never have to send these." Christmas Day passed. Still no breakthrough, still no word from Patton. The waiting became unbearable. The afternoon of December 26th dragged on in silence. Inside Allied headquarters, officers moved carefully. No laughter, no small talk. Every minute without news felt like another unit dying in the snow. Then, the telephone rang. An aide rushed to the desk. He listened, his eyes widened.
Sir, it's George S. Patton. He says it's urgent.
Dwight D. Eisenhower stood so fast his chair scraped across the floor. He grabbed the receiver.
George.
A brief pause. Then the voice came through.
Eisenhower, we made contact.
Silence.
My 4th Armored Division reached the 101st at 1650. The corridor is narrow, but it's open. Supplies are moving in now. The siege is broken.
For a moment, Eisenhower couldn't speak.
George, you saved them.
Patton answered calmly.
Just doing my job, Ike. But those airborne boys, they held when no one thought they could.
Eisenhower exhaled slowly.
No, George. Don't minimize this. You turned an army 90 degrees in winter under fire and broke a siege. That's history.
Eisenhower slowly lowered the phone. For a second, silence. Then his voice trembled.
Gentlemen, Patton has done it.
A pause.
He saved 10,000 men.
Some officers smiled. Others closed their eyes in relief. One witness later said, "This was the only time we ever saw Eisenhower cry." He wiped his face quickly, straightened.
Send congratulations to the 101st Airborne. Send my thanks to Patton. History will remember this day.
The next morning, Dwight D. Eisenhower issued an official communiqué to Allied command.
The siege of Bastogne has been broken. The 101st Airborne stands relieved. General George S. Patton's Third Army achieved what many believed impossible.
Across headquarters, the message spread rapidly. Not as good news, as a miracle. Inside Bastogne, exhausted paratroopers read the report in frozen foxholes. Some laughed, some cried, some simply collapsed into the snow. Their commander, Anthony McAuliffe, reportedly said only, "Tell Patton, we owe him our lives." Bastogne was not just a rescue, it was proof. That speed beats surprise. That discipline beats panic. That leadership can rewrite the battlefield in days. Patton didn't just save a division, he shattered German momentum in the Ardennes. From that moment on, the offensive never recovered. The war in the West became irreversible.